All right, I had a chance to go ahead and take the old gas tank and the driver's seat out and assess the damage, I guess, and I'm gonna start by cleaning it out. Oh, I got a little bit of hole action going on. A little more than a little, but nothing I can't fix. Let me start by ripping all this junk out. Get as much as I can here, and I got a nice vacuum I'll use next. Well, as you can see, it's not in great shape, but I think for now, since I can get like a whole floor pan for this, I'm probably just gonna do the bare minimum, and I'll probably tidy it up there and then fix this spot up. And then this is where the gas tank drops through, I'm assuming, and the line picks up. That's what it looks like. But yeah, so that's good to get done, I guess. Now at least I know what I got ahead. Well, now it's time to get the chisel out and try to cut out most of this as clean as I can and see what I got to work with. Quick little update, I'm still cutting away. Just with all the banging and cutting, it's frankly just too violent to really capture it well, so I'm going to try doing it this way instead. But yeah, getting there. That support underneath is pretty rotted, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet, but I'll hopefully find that out sooner than later. It's really getting there now, almost completely cut out. That underside support there is in pretty bad shape, so I should probably do some repair to it before it goes back together. So that may make things take a little longer, but it's coming out quick. It's coming out relatively quick. Now it's just clearing up the edges, and I'm probably going to have to rebuild a lot of that main support there. Figure out what this bolt's for. Looks like it's just a frame mount. No bolts in it though, so nice. I went ahead and got the sides all cleaned up, and of course I'll have to pretty that all up and everything, but this is rotted, and so that's got to come out. So fortunately, I was able to put together real quick a little patch piece for it, I guess, or a new rail rather. And so I'm planning to cut that out somewhere around here and Zeus it in, and then I'll have to figure out where that hole is, drill that, weld a nut in on this side, and should be good. It looks like this too. It was awfully thin and rusty here, so it kind of fell apart when I took it out. So I think I might cut out and build a new piece to patch in here and clean that up, but we'll see. Well, I was able to get the old rail cut out with relative ease. I think I got just enough material left there to weld to. It's not great, I'll be honest, but I'll probably end up putting a little support gusset in. Just sturdy everything up, but yeah, Here's a good side-by-side of the old piece and the new rail. It's actually not half bad. No fabricator, but I had a sheet metal brake at my disposal, so that seemed to do the trick. Here's another little update. The structure's all cut out now. I believe it was in the last video, but started to clean it up, wire wheel, and get it ready to throw a little PR15 and weld through primer on. But yeah, this part's really solid. This one not so much, but I think there's just enough there where with this little support gusset I slapped together, I should be able to get enough strength out of it. It'll at least be 10 times better than it was, and I don't take this as a high stress area, but I guess time will tell. I just cut out that really rusted out spot, and the little magic and the help of a piece of chipboard, and I'll go ahead and turn this piece of sheet metal into that new panel. So with a little movie magic, you'll see that in just a couple seconds. Alright, there's the finished product. Obviously needs some cutting and finishing, but it's more than close enough. Still have one part of the vehicle that's nice. It's like an old ship. Up next is a step that I have been dreading the most, but I'm going to turn this big piece of sheet metal right here into a floor pan. So hopefully it all pans out, no pun intended, and I can get this all mounted in. But I'm still waiting for my rail to dry. I had to paint some of the underneath part before I mount it in, because I won't be able to paint it once it's welded. So yeah, I'll keep on this and give you an update once this starts fitting. It's starting to look like a floor, so I guess now I just need to, there's a little bit of clearancing I gotta do in that corner, and then there's a bend I gotta put into it here. But once that's done, it should be pretty darn close to final trimming, and I'll get it prepped and I'll be able to start welding stuff. It's more or less fitted now. I'll have to drill a hole in it, a couple of holes in it for the gas tank sender and all that, but it's a start. So I guess now it's really just finishing up prep work, and then I'll start welding, and hopefully it won't be too long till it's all in. I guess I've sort of officially ruined my patina. All that primer should wipe off, but it's just the weld through primer for putting that piece in. Oh, put my light on. Yep. I'm also getting ready to weld this rail in, so hopefully that'll do the trick. Just got a vice grip there, so I'm gonna put a quick tack in, and then just to get it stuck in place, and then I'll start adjusting things, and yeah, hopefully get it Zeused in rather quick. Well, it's in. It's not very pretty, especially once you get up there, but I just need to detach that gusset in, and it's, well, this is part of it. The little piece bolts into there, so I'll have to, I gotta drill a hole and weld a nut for that, but now that it's in place I can do that. But once that's bolted in, I don't think this is ever gonna go anywhere. I mean, this is definitely part of the Jeep now. And it's not super structural, so more or less just to hold the floor in. So I don't anticipate there being any problems there. I'll definitely make sure to rust proof it the best I can, because that's gonna rust. But it's a start. And for the rest of the vehicle, it's good enough. Now I'll go ahead and get this piece welded in. The floor rail is all welded in. It's really just this piece that's got to go in, and then once all the prep work's done, I should be able to get the floor to drop in. Well, if I had to be honest with you, we're off to a really bad start. So I'm gonna clean this up and try again, but for whatever reason, this is fighting me extremely hard. If this is something you really cared about, ideally you'd take it a lot slower, but this seems to be getting there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind it some more and then find all the little holes, and of course I have to get along the bottom here. But I'd say it's a start. Well, I was able to pull through and it turned out halfway decent. It's at least flat. But yeah, here's the floor pan set in again. Just starting to really take shape. Can almost taste the home stretch. So now I'm working on getting, I need a body mount bolt for the bracket that goes through here. So I'm working on putting that together. So I'm actually gonna weld that nut and washer to the inside of this rail so that I can unbolt the bolt from the bottom if ever need be. Once that's completed, I'll go ahead and scuff all this up and clean it and run some POR 15 all on the inside of the channel and everything, and make sure that's all clean. And I guess prepare to weather the storm of hopefully 20 or so more years. Well, my nut and washer have been welded in. I think they're sturdy enough. I mean, time will tell, but should be good. So now I'm just getting ready to POR 15 the inside of that channel, and I think that'll pretty much complete the underside, other than I'll have to grab some more weld through primer to spray on the top rail. But once that's done, I'll clean up the edges all around for the floor pan and start drilling holes for that and doing the prep work on that. Almost got everything all prepped and ready. It's really just a matter of spraying some weld through primer through here now. And floor pan itself, I've done all the welding prep work. Now I'm gonna paint the underside and then rip that tape up and spray some weld through primer down, as well as on all the corners. Then flip it and spray weld through primer on all the holes on the other side. But yeah, it's almost there. Should just be a couple more hours and it'll have a floor. Got some weld through primer down on everything now. So the Jeep itself, the prep work is completely done. It's ready to go. It's just a matter of welding pieces in. Over here's the floor pan. Here's the underside of it. I've got it all painted up, and except for the spots, I'll put weld through primer for the spot welds or plug welds, I guess now. And so I think I'm gonna call it a night, but tomorrow morning I'll get some weld through primer on that and let it dry. And a little side project I was working on for the Jeep I just finished up. The whole seat back was rusted on this on the driver's side seat frame, so I had to go ahead and cut it off and weld a new one on. So I just got that all finished up, grind down the welds, but yeah, it turned out good. So hopefully you see that all painted up with cushions on it soon. Got the floor pan. Got it held in place with some self-tapping screws, as well as some vice grips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this corner here, and I just start working my way until I get to the other end. That way to try to avoid any bowing and all that. So a good trick is to start in the good areas, to start in, I guess, your problem area where you're going to have the most trouble getting stuff to fit up, and kind of work out from there, because as you go, stuff becomes more fixed and harder to manipulate. The floor pan is officially in. I forgot to update before I drilled those holes in it, but that's for the fuel tank. I believe lines feed through there, but now I just got to give it a quick grind, and that should be about all it needs. Well, now that I got that cleaned up, aside from paint, I can call this part of the project officially done. So now that the floor is fixed, I'll be able to put the gas tank in. And then once that's installed, I'll put the front seat back in, the new cushions, and I'll paint it up and everything. And I gotta fix the passenger seat. Once all that's done, it's really just fix the brakes, get the throttle and carburetor working right, and it should do everything that should be the bare minimum to get it running and driving. I was able to get the seats all bolted in. So there's a bolt that fits in behind in the wheel well here. Yep, you can see it. And then, of course, 3 others. I had to drill and tap this, but luckily this diamond plate was thick enough I could just tap into it and use that. So that made it easy. You didn't have to worry about welding a nut underneath or anything. And yeah, I mean, it shakes the Jeep when I move it, so I'd say it's part of the Jeep. And so now, yeah, once that's primered and got paint on it, I can install the cushions and covers, and the seat will be complete. And then I've got a passenger seat frame coming in the mail, because this one isn't the correct one. And once that comes in, I will do the same to that one. It comes primered, so I'll just have to paint it. And once that's painted, do the same, and we'll have some really nice seats finally. So that'll be sick. Won't match the rest of the vehicle, but hey, I'll take it. Getting ready to install the fuel neck cover thing. So I had to grind off all the rust there, and so now I'll put some weld through primer on that. Additionally, I realized I didn't have a back gas tank strap. It was one of the parts that got back ordered, so I had to build one real quick. Turned out decent. It'll do the trick. I already test mounted it, and then I had to sand that down for another mount that goes here that mounts up to that one there. Once that's done, the tank will mount in and everything, and that'll be all finished up. Then I think that's about it for this stage of the project, other than the finish work of painting everything. But with that, all the fitting should be done. Working on getting the filler neck cover in. I was able to get the other gas tank bracket mounting pretty cleanly. I had a hole there from where it was previously drilled through and rusted, so I kind of built up some weld on the back side of it. So I'll grind that down. But yeah, I wanted to give a quick update before I started and get this finished up. All right, well, the filler neck is, or filler neck cover, whatever you want to call it, is in. Wish I could tell you I was a pro welder and I wasn't gonna have to really do any grinding on these, but I got a little work to do, but nothing crazy. Knock it out in a few minutes and grind that down too, I guess, and I'll update you then. Well, I may not be a welder, but I sure am a grinder. So that turned out pretty good. Finished nicely, that ground down pretty well. Yeah, so now I'll just do a quick test fit of the tank and see if I can get the strap down now that I have all the mounts and that cover's in place, just to make sure everything fits right. If you can believe that, I mounted the strap mount a little too high, but frankly I wouldn't have wanted it down that low. So I'm going to see if I can modify this strap somehow to accommodate a little bit more room. Well, the strap fits now. I had to shorten it about 3 inches to get everything to sit right, but let me show you that real quick. You can see it's definitely homemade, got, you know, some hardware store rivets, but they'll do the trick nonetheless. And it's put together the same way it was. I just had to shorten it myself, but yeah, tank's fitting really good now. As you can see, it's part of the vehicle. It's not going anywhere, so that's cool to see. I have a little bit of a clearance issue on the filler, but I'll knock that out here shortly. Here's a quick shot of everything all fitted up. The repaired seat panel, the repaired seat frame, the gas tank installed, and of course the floor underneath fixed. So all that did not fit up when it came in here, so that's pretty cool to see. Definitely looks a lot better. It's a lot more solid. So yeah, I think it's just gotta clearance that, like I said in the last clip, but just do some painting from here and I'd say this part of the project's complete. Got another quick project I'm knocking out. Well, I've got the nice welder here. I've got this shift knob that came with it, but fortunately doesn't screw on. I don't know if it was like it's got like a tapered kind of half thread, so I don't know if it just kind of slipped on with, or screwed on with resistance before. But either way, I'm just gonna try to weld this 5/16 24 onto here as straight as I can. Cut everything with a bevel to give me room to put weld into, so hopefully it'll be sturdy and everything. Hardest part's just gonna be getting everything to align, so I'm gonna work on that, get it zapped up, and I'll check back up with you after. Well, I went ahead and got it welded on. My trick ended up being just holding it there with one hand and then gave it a tack, and then kind of moved it around till it was as straight as I could get it without the weld breaking apart. And yeah, it turned out pretty good. Far from perfect, but should grind down well and look good. The bevel on both ends was definitely the move. It gave the weld plenty of spot to penetrate, and it should be really strong. So I'm excited to torture test it once I get the welds ground down. I was able to get everything all ground down. It's not perfect, but I'd say good enough. So now let me grab the shift knob. And yeah, we'll try screwing it on. Alright, that's on there. Yeah, not bad at all. Sweet. Sitting in the cushionless driver's seat. Just want to do a quick torture test. Make sure this is nice and sturdy. I'm not breaking something to the shifter, I keep doing that. But yeah, first gear, second gear, third gear. Yeah, I would say that this is not going anywhere. Those threads I put on are now part of that shifter. Well, since there wasn't a bracket included with my 12-volt alternator to replace the 6-volt generator, I had to build my own bracket. So I just got done doing that, so I figured I'll show it off a little bit before I get it installed. But pretty straightforward. The hardest part was just measuring everything and fitting it up. So hopefully once I do the final mock-up, it'll fit correctly, and then I'll be able to paint it and call it a finished project. Well, the bracket worked, and the bracket worked, and the generator's officially gone and replaced with the alternator. So that was awesome. For a moment there, before I started building the bracket, I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it work, and I was going to have to actually buy a kit, because this alternator actually came with it, and so figured it'd work, but it took a little more work than I thought. But now my custom alternator bracket's done, and I just reused the old generator adjusting bracket, and yeah, the belt fits and everything. And I'll turn it over for you real quick just to show everything in action. So it holds on. Seems like it may have a little bit of a creak to it, like it almost, you know, has a vibration. But I think part of that is just the fact that the crank pulley down there is kind of wobbly. It doesn't seem like it's loose, it's just wobbly. So I should look into that sooner than later. But yeah, we're gonna call that a victory. Well, I got the Jeep back to the barn again. And I was also able to pull everything back out, and went ahead and POR 15 the hole inside driver's side floor here. Ran it over with the wire wheel and stuff on this area, and as you can tell, it's got some holes. It's not perfect, but I see those as drain holes. The eventual goal is to rebody this anyway. It's just so rough all around. It wouldn't be worth all the time fixing it up. The gas tank is now installed. Everything fits upright, nice and sturdy. Got all the straps in place, caps installed. Call that good. I'm getting ready to touch up those bare metal areas on the side. Obviously, I don't have a paint to match this, so I went ahead and went with the good old-fashioned rusty metal primer. So that should at least keep it from rusting for at least a little while and match okay enough. But yeah, there's my high-end paint, or my high-end tape job, but it should do the trick. I just realized after the fact I forgot to show this finished, but yeah, here's how it looks with the rusty metal primer. I've got the light on it, so it's sticking out more than it does, but really especially the further back I get, it blends in pretty darn well. I'm just about ready to start shooting the driver's side seat frame and primer. I've also got a 73 Roadrunner hood and 73.4 Roadrunner satellite fender. I got all stripped down. This thing was really bad. It was super surface rusty. Check that out, crop duster. But yeah, it was really badly surface rusted. So it took me several hours to get it ready to go, but it's looking good now, and I've got a phosphate coating I put down, and it's sanded and ready to take primer. So just about to give these a final tack wipe, blow them off, then yeah, get the regulator set and shoot them. Well, primer's been shot. It looks good. So long as, I mean, I wish it was a little less buggy, but so long as they stay away, shouldn't have many issues. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. I think I got coverage in almost everything. And should be a really, really solid base coat for the top coat, and hopefully last a long time. And just show you these as well because they're done. It's a Roadrunner fender I did. You can definitely still see a bit of the pitting. I'm sure it's showing up on camera. But I'm interested to see what happens after like a coat of like a filler primer. Well, I got both seat frames all cleaned up and prepped and ready. So top coat's about to come on. I just need to mix it up over here. It's a 2-part. All right, well, painting is done. They're looking really nice. So now, once this dries, I can cut them down, and that just leaves putting on the cushions, and the seat frame should be all done. I was able to get the driver's side seat all covered up and everything. Bottom was easy, you just put in the 4 screws, and it came with a base. It was all stapled in and everything. But the top was pretty difficult. I used a blowtorch and a little small screwdriver and kept heating up the tip, and I'd use it to plunge through to make all the different holes. But yeah, it turned out well. I've got the passenger side done as well, but I already brought that outside, so I'll show that here in a second when they're both installed. The seats are officially in. It's looking really good. Now that that's done, I'll have to start on the wiring, and then I think from there it's just brakes and hooking up throttle linkage, so it's getting really close to drivable.